Well, who wouldn't like to see the Trump administration and Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and Kristi Noem be gagged to stop them from making statements out loud that prejudice the ability of a person like Abrego Garcia to get a fair trial, to be presumed innocent, to not be called a monster, to not be called a serial wife beater or a child predator or a human trafficker or a head of MS-13 as he stands trial on a phony indictment in Tennessee. His lawyers and Abrego Garcia, who remains in custody under the control and under the supervision of Judge Zinnes in Maryland, but because his indictment sits in Tennessee, his lawyers have now filed an emergency motion to have Judge Crenshaw in Tennessee gag Trump, Bondi, Noem, Holman, the border czar, and anybody else in the Trump administration from making what's called extrajudicial outside the courtroom statements, which are intended to convict him in the court of public opinion. That's not our rule of law. That's not our system of justice. And now it's going to be up to Judge Crenshaw, who is sitting on a motion right now, also brought by Abrego Garcia. This is the individual, for those that are catching up late, who was deported in the middle of the night having been kidnapped in violation of his rights, in violation of a court order, and sent to El Salvador, where he was tortured upon arrival, and now has been brought back by order of the United States Supreme Court. That Abrego Garcia. You're on MeidasTouch and on Legal AF. Let's get to this filing. As I said, the Judge Crenshaw, is sitting on a motion, which will be decided in later September, to dismiss the indictment for vindictive prosecution. Many of the things I'm going to tell you that the Trump administration has said about Abrego Garcia, which are the subject of this gag order motion, are also the foundation of the motion to dismiss the indictment for vindictive prosecution. So whenever I talk to you about the evidence, and I'm going to read to you from this motion, which is also now posted on Legal AF Substack, just think these are also the grounds to have the indictment dismissed in Tennessee. Let's start from the top. And I'll also show you a video clip of something that they referred to. Page 1. Since Kilmer Armando Abrego Garcia was released from pretrial custody last Friday, officials from the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security and even the White House have attacked Mr. Abrego in the media in numerous highly prejudicial, inflammatory, and false statements. To safeguard his right to a fair trial, Mr. Abrego respectfully renews his earlier requests that the court order that all DOJ and Department of Homeland Security officials involved, including Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, and others, refrain from making extrajudicial comments that pose a substantial likelihood of materially prejudicing this proceedings. Substantial likelihood, that is their goal. That is why they are making these statements against him. That's easy. And the way that this motion is structured, they demonstrate to the judge, prove to the judge that it violates not only the local criminal rules of Tennessee, Rule 2.01, but also the Tennessee Rules of Professional Conduct. Because if you are trying a case in Tennessee as part of the Department of Justice and all of its people, and you are lawyers, you must comply with that as well. Any statements that are being made under the local rules about a prior criminal record, the character or reputation of the accused, the character, credibility, or reputation of a party, the nature of the physical evidence, any opinion as to the accused's guilt or innocence, anything that would impact or substantially risk prejudicing an impartial trial has to not be used. But all we're watching is the vilification campaign by the Trump administration against a guy named Abrego Garcia. Here's what they say on page 3. Within minutes of Mr. Abrego's release from pretrial detention, Secretary Noem issued a statement criticizing activist judges for attempting to obstruct our law enforcement, then went after Abrego himself, called him an MS-13 gang member, human trafficker, serial domestic abuser, and child predator to walk free. That was on Fox News. In fact, let's show a clip from Noam doing exactly what is being reported here in this filing. Let's play the Noam clip.
His freedom may be short-lived. As far as when he will be detained by ICE, which is what we're expecting, it's unclear. But the Department of Homeland Security has previously said that he will, quote, never walk American streets again.
Okay, but it continues. White House Deputy Press Secretary Abigail Jackson put out a similar statement the very same day. Then we move on to page 4, where they talk about what Tom Homan, the border czar, said about him, which is Abrego is not going to walk the streets of this nation. He's a criminal alien, an MS-13 member, a wife beater, a human trafficker, a bad person. You see how all these things are prejudicial and violate the local rules, right? Even we can see that. In fact, let me show you the clip of Tom Homan that's referred to here. Let's play the clip.
Accusations that you're weaponizing the immigration system and will, in fact, Abrego Garcia soon be heading to Uganda.
He is absolutely going to be deported from this country. He's not going to walk the streets of this nation. So he can enjoy the little time he has with his family. And for the person who says we're not going to separate family, well, his family can go with him because he's leaving. He's going to be deported. Look, he's a criminal alien. He's a member of MS-13, which is now a designated terrorist. He's a wife beater. He's a human trafficker. He's been indicted for human trafficking and alien smuggling. He's a bad person. He's not going to be here. He's been order removed twice. Order removed by 2 different federal judges. He's going to leave this country in the very near future.
All right, then we know that this Monday, Mr. Abrego with his lawyers reported as required to the ICE Baltimore field office, and then he's been detained ever since. That same morning, according to the new filing on page 5, there was a press conference involving Attorney General Bondi and President Trump. And in that press conference, Donald Trump said that the guy is deranged, that he is an animal, and the rest. And Bondi agreed. Here's that press statement, press comment that's referred to in this filing. Let's play that clip.
Today, MS-13 gangbanger and human trafficker Kilmar Abrego Garcia turned himself into ICE in Baltimore. Do you have any comment on this? And why are the Democrats so emotionally attached to this man who beats his wife and is part of a terrorist organization?
Because they think he's going to be good for votes, and I think he's very bad for votes. These people are deranged. He's not good for votes. He beat the hell out of his wife. His wife is afraid to even talk about him. She's been mauled by this animal. And, through a system of liberal courts, he's doing things. But, no, we have that under control. And Pam has got that very much under control. Do you want to comment on it?
No, we've got him under control. He will no longer terrorize our country. He's currently charged with human smuggling, including children. The guy needs to be in prison. He doesn't need to be on the streets like all these liberals want him to be. And as part of this operation here in DC, we've also taken off MS-13 members. We've taken, I think just last night, we got a TDA guy off our streets right here, right around from where we all work. Another TDA member gone because of this project. So we're going to keep America safe from all of these foreign terrorist organizations, including Abrego Garcia.
All right, well, I think you can see for yourself why they're so incensed, and they have decided that they're going to have to file this motion to get a gag order on everybody in the Trump administration. I mean, they even showed, we'll put them up here, they even showed from the official websites of the Homeland Security pictures of Abrego Garcia. Of course, they blur out the agent, but a full picture of Abrego Garcia, the criminal defendant who's presumed innocent, calling him, this is Homeland Security branding him. You see it here. He doesn't belong here. He won't be staying here. America is a safer nation without this MS-13 gangbanger in it. Good riddance. But it gets better. Or as they called it on page 7 of their motion, the piece de resistance is that the Department of Homeland Security reposted a graphic from the White House's official account. You see this? A trolling of the famous Obama fairly painting, MS-13. There are courts that have said you are not supposed to refer to gang membership because it has such a such a terrible connotation and will prejudice the person at time of trial. Later that evening of the day that he was taken back into custody, and again, under the protection of Judge Zinnes, Kristi Noem goes back on television, this is according to the reporting, and she goes on Newsmax and calls him a terrorist and somebody who likes pornography. Let's play that clip.
This man is a suspected terrorist, known to affiliate and be friends with MS-13 members, spend time with them, has been arrested before and suspected of human trafficking, extremely dangerous individual, a known wife beater. This is someone that should never be free in the United States of America, and bringing him to justice is incredibly important to the safety of the American people.
So I wanted to play the clips, and what they're asking for, let me just, as they go through the case law, which is all in their favor, they say at the end on page 14, Mr. Abrego respectfully requests that the court enter an order requiring that all DHS and DOJ officials and others refrain from making any extrajudicial comments that have a substantially likelihood of materially prejudicing this proceeding. At a minimum, the Abrego requests that the court order the government to describe promptly the steps it has taken to comply with this order and the rules of professional conduct in Tennessee. Signed, Sean Hecker, who's the new lawyer for Abrego Garcia. Here's how I think this is going to play out with Judge Crenshaw. He's going to give the Department of Justice, has time to respond to that. He's going to hold a hearing. It will be a hearing, I believe, before the end of September when he makes his determination on the motion to dismiss for vindictive prosecution grounds the indictment. The very same evidence that I just played for you here and is part and parcel of this motion will be used at that hearing as well. And I think he enters a gag order, just as Judge Chutkan did against Donald Trump in the criminal election interference case, just as Judge Merchan did against Donald Trump in the felony indictment case in New York, just as the judges did in Georgia, in the Georgia cases against Trump and others. You're going to see Crenshaw do the same thing. And then when they violate it, and they will, we're going to be up for a motion for contempt and other sanctions by this federal judge to try to control things. So we want to keep an eye on, as we end this hot take, we want to keep an eye on two things here. Two things. One is what Judge Zinnes is going to do in Maryland. And she's already ordered that Abrego Garcia not be removed from the United States or even his Virginia detention center until she holds a hearing in October on his writ of habeas corpus petition about his civil liberties being violated. At the same time, Judge Crenshaw is handling the indictment, the 2-count human trafficking or human smuggling indictment that sits in Tennessee. So we're going to watch these two judges sort of whipsaw the federal government and make sure they comply with the constitutional rights and civil liberties of Abrego Garcia. I'm glad you're here on MeidasTouch. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button, slide over to Legal AF and Legal AF YouTube and Substack. Subscribe there as well. I have posted this motion so you can read it for yourself on Legal AF Substack. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popak. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.